Hey ho, superhumans, welcome to another video. Lori here, and thanks loads for joining me. Lately, including right in this moment, I have been feeling all kinds of fear coming on. I've been stepping into some areas of myself, skills and strengths and natural gifts that I've been kind of walking around on top, below, out of fear of what it might bring on. And as I do that in a nice regulated way, fear is certainly coming up. I'm feeling it physically, I'm feeling it emotionally, I'm feeling it mentally, and I am practicing these natural ways that I have adopted in breaking the spell of fear. So I felt that it was a perfect day to share with you those. I've kind of broken it down into 4 ways that we can naturally begin to break the spell of fear. So if you're new to the channel here, you're getting value from these videos, please make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell so that you know about upcoming videos. It also helps us share the channel. I really appreciate already the likes and the subscriptions that we're receiving, and that's you doing that. So thank you very much. And you'll also see down below in the comments that we have some free events each month. This is a wonderful opportunity for you to actually join us, for us to connect, and for you to really get a feel and use some of the practices that we're teaching, like TRE and grounding, to help you really experience and integrate what it is we're talking about here in these videos. So the first way we can explore is really to continue as we've started in other videos, and if you did start, I'm sure that you're benefiting already, is that we are really redefining, reframing the way that we look at fear. We can just begin to really integrate, understand, and start to witness for ourselves. This is not knowledge I'm sharing. This is something that I want you to take on and start to explore and prove it for yourself. That every day, all day, it's all about feeling either fearful and not safe, or really grounded and safe, and the big range in between. Our nervous system works automatically. Our autonomic nervous system is housed in our brainstem, the instinctual brain, and it's constantly scanning our environment for anything dangerous. And if it detects anything dangerous coming in through any of your senses, based on your history, your stories, your concepts, and our image, and all of these things, as well as maybe to an actual real physical threat of this really angry dog that is chasing you, or something real for the physical body, maybe a big T trauma or not, it doesn't matter. The nervous system is just always at work, and it does that very automatically. So that's really the first thing to begin to really redefine for ourselves. This is natural. This is how our nervous system works. It's always done it, it's doing it right now, and it's always going to do it. So what we can do is just begin to look for evidence of that and start to notice which ones are perceived threats and which ones are real threats. An example here for me is I used to be very, very afraid of dogs. And it used to be that whenever I would see a dog, because of my history, my thoughts, my concepts, and all of that around dogs, I would get so fearful, I would get really activated in my nervous system. My nervous system would get activated because I was afraid of the dog. And so my heart rate would go up, I'd begin to freeze a bit, my respiratory rate would go up, I'd get goosebumps all over my legs. It was a real fear reaction that I would get. After doing TRE, grounding practices, and really starting to have more space within myself with less adrenaline, cortisol running through my system, I began, whenever I was around dogs, to actually have an extra second of space to notice, is this dog actually angry or have any reason to attack me right now? Or am I the one that's bringing that on in him or her because I'm so afraid? And so that's kind of how it started, to recognize if it was a real threat or a perceived threat. I actually notice the sensations coming in, my nervous system picking it up as fear, and then noticing how it would normally spiral so quickly. And so just understanding from this perspective, instead of the fear coming on, the nervous system putting us right up and us having no idea, we begin to really just watch how it works and start to appreciate it. Because even though sometimes it wasn't a real threat, it still protected us in some way. Because it would have been too much for me, for example, before, to actually look at this dog's, the situation of this dog, and not go in a complete protective reaction. A second way to look at this to help us continue to reframe this is that we need to understand how all of the control and power in the world all stems from this feeling fearful, unsafe, or safe and grounded. This is how all of the social conditioning, sometimes we call it the mind, sometimes we call it ego identity. It doesn't matter what we call it, but it's basically this jacket or suit, I like to call it, of all of these ideas and concepts that have come up. If we are feeling unsafe and we are in positions of authority in the world, this is where the control and the power comes on. So the more we have, if we're not really working with our nervous system and our grounding, the more we have to protect, the stronger defense mechanisms come on. So then becomes the control and the power to have people feel small, to not want people to have as much knowledge, for people not really to tap into their greatness because it's too threatening to people in positions of authority. So that is just one example, but this is all filtrated through our entire world. And there might be one planet, but there are billions of worlds, because all of us have our own world based on what that conditioning has been, based in the culture that we grew up in. It's all the same, but just expressed in different ways. So feeling small, not enough, low self-worth, even if we are people who are really aggressive, that still comes from insecurity. Insecurity is not feeling safe. So by the way, you don't have to worry that your nervous system is not going to kick in and protect you if it's a real threat of something really, that you have to protect your body, protect your life maybe. It's still going to kick in. What I tend to focus on this channel, in this work, in my life, with my clients, with my trainees, is really fears, perceived fears that come up about coming from our social identity, that ego identity, that the mind, some people call the mind. And the third way I want to introduce here is that when fear comes on, recognizing that it's a wave. It's temporary. I've mentioned in another video before that you could actually take your phone and put your timer on if you wanted, and just sit and watch the fear for a while. You can almost see it like a hologram. I just bought a car, and there's actually a hologram. It reflects back my speedometer to me, and it looks like it's out there in midair. And sometimes I use that same holographic way of actually looking at fear when it comes up. And if you set your timer, you're going to see that it comes and it goes. Now, when it comes, if we don't do that and kind of look at it here with the understanding and the reframing mentioned in these two first ways we just talked about, then it starts to take you over. We start to take shape around it. We identify with it. We give it power. And then our defense mechanisms come on, these behaviors that we've always gone into of either running away or just becoming lethargic, having a sleep, all those ways that we've talked about in other videos. And then we're back creating the same results all the time. So right now I have fear coming up, and I know it physically. For me, it's all my areas in my body where I've had some trauma before. I've sprained an ankle, so I have lots of pain in my ankle right now. And I also have very tight knees from a lot of trekking and hiking. The muscles in behind my knees are really tight, the tendons, and they're so painful. It's keeping me awake at night at the moment. My digestion has always been a place where whenever I get stressed, of course I didn't understand this before, that when fear was coming on and I was being threatened, or at least that I was perceived being threatened, that's when my digestion was really acting up. So right now I can only eat about half the quantity that I normally eat. My negative voice can come on much stronger, so I have to be alert and aware of this so that I can tame that and not take shape around all of these things. When emotions come up, I'm allowing myself to express them, to cry, to whatever, and then move on to something else. So I know it's temporary. I know I need to feel these things as I'm walking through, or we can say as fear is moving through me. If I grabbed onto that and took shape around it, then it would just go downhill, 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 and spiral down and put me through the same cycle. Instead, some of the evidence that I know that looking at it as temporary and a wave that's passing through and just watching all the results of it, the way that I know that it's proving well is that when I do feel pretty good, like I do right now, I feel completely the opposite. The pain right now is not in my body. While if I really, tied into it and identified with it, the pain would stay and it would really, as I say, spiral down. So these are the ways that I can know. And whenever the pain, the periods of when I don't have the pain and all this other stuff going, I feel more grounded, I feel more alive, I feel more free than I have. So that's all the immediate evidence telling me that I am breaking the spell of fear. The fourth and last way I'm going to share in this video on how to break the spell of fear is to really continue to look at it in this holographic way, and to also recognize that it is the habit and the job of the mind, the ego identity, the social conditioning, to come back and have an issue with whatever is going on. So a great way that I experienced this lately, I really put this to the test and I was amazed at the results, because I love to use scenarios. I love to use an exact scenario that's brought up fear and kind of look at all these ways I'm sharing with you. It's not as confusing as trying to do this in all areas, because what we're actually doing is we're always looking at things as though we had a pair of glasses, and we're looking at it through the social conditioning of being fearful, being small, low self-worth, and all of these things, feeling insecure, needing to prove ourselves. We're looking at it through these same glasses, the same filter. So if we really kind of put it out here to look at it fresh, that we will recognize that no matter what is coming on, it's the conditioning, the habit of the mind to actually have an issue with it. And when we start to realize, like, wow, no matter what I would have decided, no matter what I would have done, no matter what would have happened, that would have still come on. So that is really a great way to break that spell, because you recognize that you are an existence outside of this, watching this, that no matter which way you would have gone, the mind, the social conditioning, whatever you want to call it, would have come on and would have had an issue with it. You can't win. You literally can't win when it's social identity, personal identity that's at work. And a great example that I'll finish out the video with is one that I use this with, because I like to use actual scenarios. Is right now I live in Chiang Mai. I've been here for 12 years. And sometimes I have a feeling that, wow, I'd love to be by the ocean. I'd love something different. And so I thought I might want to move to the south. So I decided to go to the south, and I stayed for about 4 months to test it out. And then came the decision of, am I gonna stay? Do I want to go back to Chiang Mai? The island was starting to feel quite small to me, but at the same time it feels like if I was coming back to Chiang Mai, well, I've been here 12 years, and my mind just went right to work. I decided to come back. When I decided to come back to Chiang Mai for at least a while, I don't know how long I'll be here, we'll see. But whenever I decided to come back, I noticed the mind coming on with all kinds of things about why I should have stayed in the south. because I was by the ocean, because of the new friends that I met there, and it was something different, and I just didn't give it enough of a chance. This is what the social conditioning came on, and then I started feeling so much fear, doubt, and resistance within myself. So then I took the opportunity to realize that, if I had stayed there, I could see from it's like I had a 30,000 foot view of looking at this. I could see that I would have had the same thing happen. I would have been, the social identity would have been finding all the reasons of why I should not have stayed there. And all the stories were coming up, and I could come up with all the reasons. So when I realized that, it really gave me true freedom. It really gave me freedom that it doesn't matter where I am. This mind game always happens. So it really helps me remain the existence that's watching this and really being happy and more content with where I am now and really aligning with what's here. So really trusting that you heard something from within today, that there's some kind of shift that's already happening. Because again, it's the whole goal of this channel is not to give you more knowledge. It's to really share things for you to be able to listen from within to help guide you in rediscovering for yourself your natural truth, your aliveness, and your freedom within. Nobody can do this for us. It is a choice, and it's really about doing some of these things we're talking about on these videos. And certainly having a practice like grounding and TRE is very helpful because it down-regulates the nervous system, brings us back down to a calmer, more natural place of having more space to do these things. So if you're getting value from these videos, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell below, and I will see you on the next one. Have a great day. Sawasdee ka from right here in Chiang Mai. Bye-bye.